I was feeling into the topic, the compassionate heart, the heart of compassion. And it feels, I don't know how political you all are in your lives, in terms of just interest and maybe even activity. Um, as to a small degree, I do follow the news. I like to stay somewhat aware, but not overly to really affect my inner state. It's just something that's kind of left over from having had a father who was very political. And but what I do feel is my personal way of being as effective as possible politically, socially, is being a loving person and as kind a person as possible. Does that make sense? I mean, that's something that we can really do, no matter how we're feeling moved to participate in a larger way, which sometimes I do. Sometimes I go to marches and so on. Depends on when I feel inspired. But working on our inner state and cleaning up house. And as a result, our speech and our actions are transformed. Have you all noticed that in your own lives? That to the degree that you're working on yourself, sincerely, authentically, not in a false way, is the degree that it's like it's a perfect mirror, actually, inside outside becoming one thing. And we as long as personality is really working through a person, the false personality, we we'll always have a type of personality, but as long as it's being run by the ego center with the fear of wanting to be loved or liked and so on, we may not be behaving authentically. And so even if we're being kind and nice, which is a much nicer thing than not, it's more friendly for society, but it's not necessarily having the same kind of impact or effect as sincerity. So in a way, it's almost more powerful to be honest with how we're feeling, as long as it's not causing harm, because that helps empty out this persona that's trying to be something for others. Does that make sense? So there's like a period of time, a passageway of going through being more authentic and real, which is a beautiful thing. Authentic and real here, and authentic and real, like I said, without wanting to cause harm on the outside. And then as we start to purify within and empty out more the pain and the conditioning that hurts inside, the things that we've taken in, then our bodies actually start to transmit that vibrationally. We are always transmitting vibrationally our state of consciousness. I've mentioned that before. So you can't really fool people or others in truth. Even when people are pretending that everything's fine and they're, in the, let's say, a personality kind of exchange. And I'm not saying this is wrong or bad. There's still something that comes through if we're sensitive, if we're paying attention of what's really going on underneath. I would just really love it if we were if we gave ourselves permission to be that honest with each other. We would be more kind. you know and maybe some of you are doing this already. I'm guessing yes. When you're with a friend and you can sense below the language that they're using that they're in pain or something's going on, to have to me, that's what friendship really is and love really is to want to know what's really going on with somebody and ask them, hey, I'm sensing there's some sadness here. How are you? Break the trance of the co-agreement of pretense. And perhaps if I think that it's nice to start cultivating friendships, if you don't already have them, that are based on that kind of uh, space allowance, and for it to go both ways. you know that to me is true nourishing friendship. Otherwise, what's the point? you know what's the point? Personally, I'd rather be alone, hang out with the trees and the birds. But it's something that one can grow into as well with a friend if it's not quite there. Say, hey, I'd like to take this to a deeper level, or a relationship that you're in. It might be welcomed. And to me, this touches on the topic, the heart of compassion. It's because it starts within ourselves, always. To the degree that you are compassionate with yourself, is the same degree that you're going to be compassionate with others. It's just the way it works. No matter how we may be expressing on the outside, there will be a cognitive dissonance going on until the two are really known as one. And it's a big relief, actually, when we finally realize that we can't pretend and that life is a mirror. And we're always learning, right? We're always learning about ourselves because every moment is different. And the more that we can learn to open to trust our own responses to the moment without wanting to maintain control, more easeful and delightful your life will be. If we're not trying to hold on to the moment and squeeze it out of fear of how we may be talking or responding, acting, this control. um, Fear of what? Of how people may react to what you say or to how you really feel or doing something kind of stupid, silly. Rather than stupid, let's say silly. Isn't it nice to have like a really close friend or family member where you can be yourself completely? It's a nice feeling, isn't it? If you have that. I hope you do. And if you don't, there are what, 7 billion people on the planet? 7 plus? Surely there's someone out there you can be yourself with if you were desiring that. I mean, to me, that's what a good friend is where you can just relax, let down to the point where the moment is so poignant with nowness that anything could happen. They're not like doing scripts with each other. I say this and you say that. And press a button. Or I can't say that because I know they're going to respond in this way. Just the whole chess game of friendship and relationship at times, like chess. If I do this and you're going to do that, and I'll think 3 steps ahead. Do you feel? I can feel right now the belly's going. "Rrr." It's tightening up just hearing that. Personally, I like to not have many people like that in my life where that happens. Anyway, obviously I don't feel that way with you all, and I don't even know all of you. So there's something that happens over time, and it happens then with everyone. So then it's not anymore like I can be myself if you're going to be yourself, and it's more like I'm just going to be myself because I trust myself. And if I do something silly or say something out of turn or act, whatever, how am I going to be with that here rather than how are you going to be with it? That's what matters, right? Because if we're able to be comfortable with being imperfect, and if we then learn to let go more if something comes up, because it's gonna. I mean, even talking about birds, even birds do, they fly into windows at times, right? And hopefully survive. But it's like we all do bizarro things. If anybody has a dog, have you ever seen a dog be embarrassed? I have. It's like they do something, it's almost like they're like looking to see you, you know? It's in the moment. And being embarrassed is okay, you know, for us. There's something really um alive with opening to embarrassment. Has anybody ever experienced that? A few nods. Opening to being shy, uncomfortable, being feeling like you're on the spot, being put on the spot, like where you're kind of squirming. There's something kind of delightful about it. Give it a try. See if you can open up energetically when you are feeling anything that you think is not okay to feel, and just be curious about it. And see, is it really so bad, or is there actually lots of energy and it's been labeled a certain way, believed in a certain way? What is it? And you may come to see over time that it's really fine. And it's actually very enlivening. The whole range of experiences that can arise when you really learn how to be yourself and give yourself permission with others. So, why does this tie into the topic? Because this is compassion, with self compassion. I mean, it's not a belief system. I want to be a kind and compassionate person. It's actually a lived reality. And you can't fool yourself in the end, because you know what is true. You won't feel as free. You'll feel more bound. I mean, life will show you, your body will show you what's true in terms of if you're operating through belief or if you're operating through something that is really authentic and real. Your body will tell you. And that's a good thing. And then if we open up to that, then we're back in being authentic, even if it's a tight feeling inside. We're being real and authentic with what our experience is, telling ourselves the truth. I'm not feeling very loving right now. Or kind. Do you see how that can be a loving and kind thing to give permission to that? It's very interesting, isn't it, how this works? It's not like you have to be perfected and be a loving and kind person to yourself all the time and to others, and no judgments. Ha ha ha. No, it's about, can you not be in judgment in regards to yourself feeling the way you feel? Hmm? That's the first step. Would you agree? It's like, so whenever you find yourself being in a little bind, take a look at how you're holding yourself. Are you, is there a way to open to including that and letting it be? I'm feeling scared, um, unloving, there's judgment here, whatever those, you know, bits inside that are still coming into the light. And how do we help those bits come to the light? Is by just first of all letting them be, noticing it and letting it be. So that's already a movement of, that allowance is already a movement of compassion, letting something be. It's like, I like to give metaphors of a baby. So if there was a baby that was in your arms or sitting next to you, or a child or small child, and they were crying, or they were having a, let's say, a meltdown, and there were tears and maybe some anger, just the range of emotion that they're not inhibiting themselves from feeling, hopefully. What would be your response? And for most of us here, we would let them just have their experience and let it, they can be sad, they can be angry, they can be confused, right? So that's what we want to do for ourselves, and give ourselves that kind of space and allowance. And maybe it's something that was never given to us when we were children. So we have to learn how to do that for ourselves. Fear. See, if we let go of our ideas of what perfection looks like, or spiritual ideals, we're going to be a lot more kind to ourselves, if we're not holding out ideas of, I should be beyond this by now, be free of it. I've been working on this for so long. Or fear is a bad thing, really. And sadness, and most of us are working on letting that idea go, that sadness is a bad thing, but it's still in there somewhere, right? Like you're feeling down, let's say, and we look at ourselves and say, what's wrong with me? Or someone is feeling down and we say, what's wrong with you? Even if we don't say that, it's in there. So those are our beliefs right there. And that's where the work lies, because that's a painful response, an unkind response. So if your spirituality, what you've taken in, includes denying these very human, God given responses. Why do I say God given? Because we're all that, we're all the divine. So if these weren't meant to be there, they wouldn't be, would they? So what, we're going to question what God gave us? Excuse me, you made a mistake. You gave me fear, anger, judgment, sadness, shame. Sounds like being cast out of heaven. So there you have duality right there, right? To say that something doesn't belong. But then these other things do, right? Like kindness and peace and happiness, all the good things, which I love just as much as you do. But I've learned to open and embrace all of those polarities. And not that it's all done, but that's where the work lies, is learning how to even out your ideas of good and bad within you. And when we do that, something wonderful happens, of course, right? The things that are caused by misperception and by wounding, by the pain of separation, all those things, they become harmonized naturally, not by forcing it on ourselves, but by welcoming and opening and allowing. And then we get to see actually that, for instance, like when we have judgments or a judgment about somebody or something or about ourselves, that it hurts, that we're that who does it ultimately hurt? It hurts ourselves. Right? So we become educated about these unconscious ways of being. And eventually, because we want to be kind to ourselves and compassion arises within for this expression of the divine, yeah. It's like, oh, why would I want to do that? Ouch. That hurts. And I think it's really good to see, to really be able to, for yourself, find out the difference between judgment and discernment and discrimination. There is a difference. Sometimes we need to have a no and say no. We don't like something, right? Create a boundary or something. We're not going to participate in the way people are doing, someone's doing something, or however that moves. Our likes and dislikes are not bad. That's discrimination and discernment and preference. And maybe just see if you can take out that thread of the judgment piece, not because you're wrong or bad for judging. We all do it. I think it's just a confusion. It's to maintain ultimately like a sovereignty here. I don't want that. I do want that. And those are all healthy. But then because of the pain of separation, it's gone further into a more painful place. We take it a step further as I don't like that to I don't like you. Rather, I don't like that behavior or whatever. And rather than going into trying to figure it all out mentally, you just stay close to yourself and feel into how you feel when, that kind of thing arises. How do you personally feel? And it's like, if there's an ouch, then that's your cue. I love how intelligent the system is. It's our ultimate teacher. Yeah. So you can see that, spirituality to me is cleaning up house and taking a good look, internal look, and then learning how to open and welcome and love ourselves as we are, our bodies as they are, our minds and our lives, even if it's not perfect. And then it's like this, and I'll just come back to what I said in the beginning. And then there's this natural movement of how this translates in your life. And you can start to play around with this reality with less defense, less fear, more naturalness, maybe more childlike wonder, less afraid of making mistakes. And we can create our own little heaven here, imperfect heaven. And the imperfect part is the part that's still coming to the light, the part that's still waking up to itself and coming out of the unconscious. That's probably pretty endless. What is it that quote that I don't remember the quote by the Dalai Lama. I'm not very good at remembering quotes, but I put it on for this meeting. And I think that the essence was something about compassion isn't a luxury, but it's a biological imperative. That's my paraphrasing. Meaning that without this kind of truth telling and deep inner work, self acceptance, self love work, which translates on the outside as in the same way, we are toast. So however we can do that. And some people don't have an outwardly spiritual life, where they're choosing in the kind of way that we seem to be choosing here. But they're very loving people, sincerely loving. They don't need to, whatever works. For some people, it might be, growing plants, and they just have this love for the plants and what they're doing with the earth. And some people may be working with children and with the dying and other people. What else could we say? There's so many ways. Dancing, whatever. There's so many ways. Just throw yourself in there. Put your own, what you're doing in there. What are you doing that helps grow you and where you get to shine and share in an authentic way what you know to be true. Yeah. If you want to be truly sincerely, like a sincere place, not of a belief, but a force for good. How is that? What is that for you? And not to make yourself wrong if you're seemingly not doing much, but in what you are doing and the people you are with, how are you being? And if you had a sincere prayer for yourself and for the rest of the world, not just human beings, but all of life, what would it be? I think it's good to have sincere prayers because that's something that we're growing into. And it really does become manifest what you sincerely want. And that's what's so lovely is you can't lie about that. And that what you want may grow over time as you grow. Because if you sincerely say want peace, yeah, inner and outer peace. But part of you is at war within yourself, then there's work to be done, right? Or if you want loving kindness in the world, but there are parts of you inside that you're not accepting. This is how sobering this can be. Truth is very sobering and very, very freeing because it doesn't lie. There comes a point where we cross a threshold, a line of still not telling ourselves the truth of what we know. I'm not talking about the things that are still hidden within, because there will always be something. But what we do know, we cross a threshold at some point where we're willing to be naked to ourselves and not pretend that we don't know what we know. And it's called, I think, true adulthood. And it's called the Satguru, the inner guru, the inner teacher. Can't pull the wool over the inner teacher's eyes. And life is a wonderful reflection. I'm not talking about how your life is going and how well you're doing financially and so on, health even. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your response to life. Your response is completely telling to how you're doing inside. We can't control life. We can do certain things, make a cup of tea or do whatever, and we're doing something, it's wonderful. And being creative and whatever. We do what we do. But where we have ultimate authority and control, really, but it's a true reflection of our inner state, is our response. And that is empowering and kind of scary. It's like, whoa, really? Can't hide. Can't hide. Does that make sense? However loving or unloving, compassionate, uncompassionate, blah, blah, blah. It's just what is. And then we can take a look. So what's going on here? Why am I holding back? From myself? Why am I holding back from this person? Okay. So let me see if there's anything else that. Well, just that I feel like this is just a, such a precious thing to be here, to be in the body and alive and together even and just now and that if we're willing to let go of how we think things should be, how we should be, it's much more alive experience. And you can do that for yourself. You can be an invitation. You can really invite yourself to live this life and not hold back. I don't think you want to regret when your last breath comes that you held back. So we're all here now and just I really love the invitation. I constantly, well, that's not true constantly, but I often remind myself, oh, is there more invitation to, even more invitation to be here with others or however? What kind of conditioning is still here that limits connection and embracing this moment?